Hello folks, and welcome to the channel. Today we're going to be having a look at another interesting little radio I've picked up. It is the Retevis, Retevis, not quite sure how you pronounce that. I suppose it's down to the individual. I'd probably vary between the two pronunciations, Retevis and Retevis. I think I tend to call it the Retevis. But anyway, it's the Retevis RB626H, which is a 16 channel UHF only radio. Now, Retevis themselves describe this radio as a business radio. So obviously it's primarily designed to be used in businesses for communications. But what piqued my interest about this little radio whenever I saw it was that it has a choice of two output powers, either 3 watts or half a watt. So that immediately piqued my interest, because I obviously wouldn't be interested in using this radio as a business radio, but I would be interested in using it as a PMR 446 walkie-talkie. Now, the thing about PMR 446 in the UK is that the regulations for using a radio on PMR 446 in the UK state that the radio must not have an output power of more than half a watt, and it must not have a removable antenna. So unfortunately, the little RB626H actually does have a removable antenna, so it rather fails the PMR 446 test on that point. As we can see, it has a short stubby looking antenna, but it is removable, as we can see here. And if we look, you'll probably not be able to read that, but it does say UHF 400 to 480 megahertz reception inside there. So yes, the antenna is certainly designed for UHF transmission only between those frequencies, 400 and 480. So it's a short, stubby looking little antenna, not like most ham radios, which come with, typically a sort of this kind of antenna here, sort of more longer, more flexible type antenna. It does actually look like very much a walkie-talkie, short, stubby, non-flexible antenna. So despite the fact that the antenna is removable, Retevis claim that this radio is capable of outputting half a watt of output power, which would make it suitable power-wise for the PMR 446 band in the UK. I will be testing that later on to see if it actually does output half a watt on low power, because a lot of people use ham radios in the UK for PMR 446, and strictly speaking they shouldn't be doing that, because the power output on most ham radios, UHF ham radios, is more than half a watt. So strictly speaking they shouldn't be using them. One that's quite popular is the little Baofeng 888S. Here we have one here, and this little radio is used a lot, I know, on PMR 446 in the UK. But the trouble with the little 888S is that even when you switch it on to low power, it's still outputting 2 watts, typically about 2.2 watts actually when you transmit. So it's definitely not legal as far as PMR446 goes on the output power. So I've been searching for a radio which offers more in the way of a typical walkie-talkie, and in that it has, it's programmable. It has it's a bigger sort of radio in the hand, and it offers more features than your standard little walkie-talkie. So the Retevis, say, it piqued my interest as a possibility for a PMR446 radio. Of course, some people are going to say, yes, but it's got a removable antenna. Yes, I am aware of that, but strictly speaking, if you wanted to, what you could do is put a bit of super glue on the threads of the antenna, and then it wouldn't be removable. And if the radio is capable of transmitting 0.5 watt, then it would comply with the regulations pertaining to PMR446 in the UK. Now, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to super glue my antenna on just to comply with the regs. I think really anyone who thinks that that this little stubby antenna is going to break the regs in any significant way, I think honestly I don't think it's an issue to be worried about. But that aside, just pointing out that strictly speaking, it doesn't comply with the regs on PMR446. The antenna is removable, but as I say, if you were really wanting to comply completely, you could make it non-removable. But anyway, enough about that. Let's have a little look around the radio. Nice little handheld UHF 16-channel radio. It's UHF only, doesn't do VHF, and there's only 16 programmable channels on it. Size-wise, we've already seen it beside the 888S Bofang, which is pretty much the same size as a 888S. It's quite a bit smaller than, for instance, my Bofang 5RH Pro, and it's slightly larger than a typical UV5R. So size-wise, it sort of falls in between those two radios size-wise. So it's quite a nice size of a little radio. And it fits nicely in the hand, and it feels good. Front of the radio, there's not much to see, just the name badge and the microphone, the little hole for the microphone on the front there. Round the side, we can see we have our orange push to talk button, and below that there are 2 up and down keys to change up and down the channels. But these up and down keys also have a dual function, in that they can be programmed to carry out other functions on the radio, and if you look in the manual, it will tell you which other functions these keys can perform. By default, by long pressing one of the side keys, you can turn on the flashlight, torch, call it what you will, flashlight on the top of the radio. It does have a flashlight on the top, and by a long press, I think it's typically side key 2, the bottom one, then that switches on the flashlight on the top. The other control on the top of the radio is just simply the on-off and volume switch. So in order to turn the radio on, you just turn that in a clockwise manner.
1.
And as we can see, the radio has a hidden green LED display when you turn it on. Quite a nice little LED display. It displays the channel you're on. It displays the battery level, and it also displays the power level. Quite important that. And as you can see, there's a green L symbol, and that indicates that the radio is currently in low power, so it should only output half a watt. But as I say, we'll get onto that a bit later, and we'll actually test that to see if it does comply and only puts out half a watt. Because I say most ham radios, if you set them on to low power, typically they won't go low enough. They will output typically about 2 watts on low power and not half a watt. And Retevis claims that it's capable of outputting half a watt, which would make it suitable for PMR446. But as I say, that side, your push to talk button, it's quite a nice solid little clicky push to talk with the orange surround on it. Feels nice, it's not vague in any way. Nice push to talk, and the 2 up and down programmable side key buttons below it. Round the back, it has an optional belt clip. You can either attach that or not. I have it attached. It attaches to the radio body, not to the battery, which I prefer, because if you had a spare battery, if you take the battery out and it's attached, the belt clip is attached to the battery, then when you put the other battery in, you lose your belt clip because it's attached to the other battery. So I always like it when they attach the belt clip to the radio and not to the battery, and that's the case on this little radio. The battery itself is quite easily removed from the bottom. You simply push up this little clip there, and out comes your battery. The battery itself is a 2000 milliamp hour battery, so not bad. Quite a beefy little battery as far as the output goes, and it certainly lasts quite a long time. I haven't actually charged this radio. I just been using it as it came out of the box, so and yet there's still a full charge on it. Under the battery we have the name label for the radio. Not sure if you can see that there, but it does say the model of the radio, which is RB626H, and the frequency range is 400 to 480 megahertz. So that's just detailing the specifications of the radio underneath the battery. As we can see on the back, we have 2 contacts for a cradle charger, and indeed the radio does come with a cradle charger. And a nice feature of the cradle charger is that the power lead is a USB-C power lead, and you can remove that from the cradle charger, and it's a USB-C type lead, USB-A on the other end, and you can actually use this to charge the radio directly without using the cradle. You can use the radio does charge up via USB-C. And if we look at the other side of the radio, we can see the rubber flap on the other side. If we open it up, we can see that on the top there's a 2-pin Kenwood type connector, and that's for programming the radio. And immediately below that we have the USB-C connector for charging up the radio. So a nice touch there. It's always nice to have a choice. You can either charge it via USB-C or via the cradle charger. The only thing is the USB connection is actually on the radio. I would have actually preferred it if it had been on the battery, because then, you know, if you had a spare battery, again, you could just take the battery out, the spare battery, and charge it via USB-C by plugging it into the battery. But you can't do that on this one because there's no USB-C connection on the battery. The USB-C connection is on the radio. So if you want to charge up via USB-C, then you have to have the battery inserted into the radio. But it's only a minor point that it's just how it is. So that's our 2-pin Kenwood connector and USB-C connector on that side. As I say, the radio itself feels nice and solid. It's not light or plasticky in any way. Fits nicely into the hand. It's a nice fit in the hand. Has the flashlight on the top, as I said, and the TX and RX LED on the top as well. So that's pretty much all there is to the radio itself as far as the dimensions, etc. go. Now, I did mention the flashlight on the top, and normally you would use the side key 2 button to turn on the flash, but I can't actually do that at the minute because I have programmed these 2 side keys for different functions. The top one initiates a scan of your program channels. I have it set to do that, and the bottom one, in this case, I have it programmed to toggle between low and high power. Now, the only reason I'm doing that is because I want to demonstrate to you later on in the video that the radio is capable of outputting on low power and high power, and what the actual readings are on those 2 settings. I will change it back, the function of the key, to activate the flashlight. You do that via the software on the radio, but for the purposes of this demonstration, I'm going to leave it to toggle the power setting between low and high power, the bottom key. So anyway, as I said, when you turn the radio on, you get the nice hidden green LED display coming up.
2.
Showing the channel, the battery level, and whether you're on low or high power. If you're on high power, the L symbol just disappears, and that means that you're on high power, you're not on low power. It doesn't change to an H or anything to indicate high power, just the L disappears, and that indicates that you are actually on high power rather than low power. So yes, very nice little radio, described by Retevis themselves as a business radio. And if we go onto their website and we have a look at the radio, this is it here on their site. Retevis, they describe it as a UHF 3-watt handheld radio with hidden display. So yeah, that's pretty much what it is. RB626 GMRS walkie-talkie. So obviously from the factory it's programmed with GMRS frequencies, but you can change those frequencies to either, if you're a licensed ham, you could use it on 70 centimeters, or as I am hoping to do, I want to use it on PMR 446 frequencies. So they describe it as a 3-watt handheld radio with hidden display, UHF band handheld business radio. So they describe it as a business radio. Obviously GMRS isn't used as a business radio, it's an amateur band and shouldn't really be used for business either. But that's what Retevis have described it as on their website. It gives you the details, you know, of the radio, 2000 milliamp hour battery, etc. High power walkie-talkie, Type-C charging, extend your range through a repeater. Yes, it is capable of connecting to a repeater. You can select offsets and CTCSS tones in the radio. That does have that function available. Easy pairing. Now that's an interesting feature because you can, once you have your radio programmed, and if you have 2 of these radios, you can wirelessly copy the frequency from one radio to another, and it describes how to do that in the manual. So yes, they have that option as well. LED flashlight, of course, and the details of the radio. There's the actual spec of the radio there. So the frequency channels are 16. Now the power, I say that's the interesting part there, 3 watt slash 0.5 watt. And that's the bit that piqued my interest. The fact that this radio should be able to output half a watt and not 3 watts. So it is dual function in that it can actually be used as either a UHF ham radio using its high power setting, or if you set it to the lower half a watt setting, then you should be able to use it as a PMR 446 radio, despite the fact that the antenna is removable. So strictly speaking, it doesn't comply in that department, but we've already spoken about that. So the main thing we want to do is actually test the power output of the little radio on low power and high power to see what we get. Now at the minute, as you can see, I currently have it set to low power, but if I toggle the bottom button here, we can see the L has disappeared. So that means the radio is now set to high power. And we'll just give it a test on the little Surecom S meter I have for testing power output to see what actual output we're getting on this radio in its low and high power settings. So I have my little SW33 power meter here, and we'll connect it up to the radio. As we can see, we have a problem here because the radio the power meter won't screw into the radio because the channel knob gets in the way. So we have to use an extender here, which thankfully comes in the box with the SW33 power meter. So we have a little extension piece here with a SMA female end there and an SMA male end here to connect into the power meter. So we'll screw this into the RB626 here and we'll get the power meter connected up to the radio and see what it is actually outputting on low and high power. And as I say, that's why I have the radio set up with the side keys to alter the power at the minute. As I say, I will change it back to the flashlight function once I have this demonstration done, but for purposes of this demonstration I just want it to toggle between low and high power. So there we are, we have our meter connected up here. We'll turn it on and we'll set it to its we'll just it's hard to get it into shot here, but we'll set it to measure output power here. Now we'll just there, that's a better view of the power meter there. So it's set up to test the power on its high power setting first. So we'll see what it's outputting on high power on PMR 446 frequency, which I have programmed into the radio here. It's actually on channel 2 PMR at the minute. So we'll test the power on high power on PMR 446 channel 2 and see what reading we get. So there we have it, folks. What we are getting there, and I hope you can see that clearly, is 2.4 watts on high power setting, which obviously is of no use to PMR 446 because the power output is too high on high power. But what we're interested in is setting this radio to its low power setting to see if we can get less than half a watt on its low power setting. So we'll long press the bottom key on the radio to toggle between the low and high power setting. Just turn it off and on again.
2.
There we go. Beg your pardon.
2.
It's on high power at the minute. We long press the bottom key and we see the L symbol has come on to indicate that the radio is now in low power. So what we want to do now, that the radio has been toggled into its low power setting, is we want to test the output of this radio on low power. Oh, sorry folks. We'll turn that off, turn it on again. Just knocked it over. Clumsy old me. So there we are, we're all set to test the output power of the RB626H on low power setting. Now, there we are. So the interesting thing to note there, and I hope you can see it on the display okay, it's important to note where the decimal point is there, because it is reading 0.49, which is pretty much bang on half a watt. If it said 0.5, we would have been exactly on half a watt, but it's actually 4.9. So we'll just do that again, just to double check. Press our PTT here on low power. Yes, 4.8, 4.9, I beg your pardon, 0.48, 0.49, and that's the important bit. It's actually outputting less than half a watt. It's right up there, it's at 0.48, 0.49, but the important thing that it is compliant with PMR 446 power output, and in that it doesn't output more than half a watt of power. So there you have it, folks. I'm not sure I can get the focus quite right there, but I hope you can see that the decimal point is before the 4 there, so that's indicating on our power meter that the radio is outputting 0.48 or 480 milliwatts, which is less than the 500 milliwatts that PMR 446 allows. So yes, this little radio is quite unique in that it does actually output half a watt on low power setting. So that's excellent news for anybody who wants to use this little radio as a PMR 446 radio in the UK, in that it is legal as far as the power output is concerned. It does in fact comply with the regs pertaining to PMR 446. So that's excellent news. It's actually the first little handheld radio that I've got that ever has done that, because all the other ones, as I say, the Baofeng Treble 8S, if you set a UV5R to low power, you're going to get 2 watts. If you set this this 5RH Pro to low power, you're going to get 2 watts even on low power as well. So when I say describe this radio as the best dark side ham radio, and that expression actually was coined by a fellow on YouTube called Fred in the Shed, who has a great YouTube channel. Look him up, and he's very keen on CB radio and PMR 446 in the UK, so look up Fred in the Shed. He coined that phrase dark side radios, I think, in that it's dark side suggests some level of illegality, which is using a ham radio on PMR 446. Strictly speaking, you shouldn't be doing that because the power output is too high, typically at 2 watts, and the antenna is also removable. But this little radio comes closer than any other radio that I have seen to complying with the PMR 446 regulations, in that it is capable of outputting half a watt on its low power setting. And if you can get over the fact that the antenna is removable, unless you superglue it, then it's not strictly complying with the regs, but it's a very minor technical illegality. On the subject of software, the software for this little radio, you'll have to download it from Retevis's website. There is no chirp compatibility for this radio at the minute. I actually tried chirp with the Retevis RB626 with no H at the end of it. I thought, they're basically the same radio. The RB626, which is listed in chirp, should work with this radio. Tried it and it wouldn't recognize the radio. So the RB626 and the RB626H are quite apparently different radios, and they won't connect in chirp. You'll have to use the CPS programming software, which is available from Retevis's website. The software itself looks like this. This is the programming software, and out of the box, and even when you download the software, we can see it comes with a list of pre-programmed frequencies on it, and some pretty weird and wonderful frequencies they are. Obviously not designed for use on PMR 446 in the UK. I mean, the first frequency there, channel 1, 464.550. So that's not a PMR 446 frequency. There is a tone set as well. The transmit power is set to high. It's on wideband, not narrowband. We use narrowband in the UK for PMR 446. So you will have to program this radio when you buy it. You're going to have to use this CPS software and program in the 16 PMR 446 frequencies for the UK to make it legal and compliant for transmitting on the correct frequencies with the correct output power. As you see, the transmit power by default is set to high, but you can toggle between high and low. And obviously for PMR 446 you're going to have to set that to low. So yes, the radio is fully programmable. You could, as I say, use it as a UHF 70 centimeter ham radio if you wanted, and leave the transmit power on high, and program in some frequencies for the 70 centimeter ham band if you have the appropriate license for transmitting on ham bands in the UK. But if you want to keep it license free and use the PMR 446 frequencies for the UK, then you're going to have to program them in on the CPS software for the radio. It's not a problem, quite easy to do. And as we said, in the settings in the PMR 446, you can see the options there for the side keys, which is down here where it says key set. By default, it's Vox is the top, side key 1, and the bottom is for switching on your flashlight. So you can select what function you want those side keys to do. If you click on the drop down arrow, you can see there's none, monitor, scan, lamp, power change, Vox, channel lock, and warn. So there are different options. The ones that I use are scan, so you can set your radio to scan the frequencies you have programmed in, and the other one is I'm going to change it back to lamp to switch on the flashlight on the top. I have it currently set to power change, but that was only to demonstrate the power output of the radio for the video, but I will be setting it back to lamp. So there you have it. You can program your side keys via the CPS software for the radio and change the frequencies and the functions of the side keys. So, but you have to be aware that you do have to, if you're going to use this as a walkie-talkie in the UK, then you have to program in the PMR 446 channels, because out of the box it comes with what looks like to me test frequencies from the factory. I'm not sure of that. It's not as far as I'm aware FRS or GMRS or anything. It just looks like test frequencies. If anyone else knows what they are, if they are those, they can say in the comments. But as far as I'm concerned, they look like test frequencies from the factory. So I would recommend that you change those to PMR 446 if that's what you're going to use the radio for in the UK. Say it is capable of doing that. You can program it via the standard 2-pin Kenwood cable on the side of the radio. Just plug it in, connect it to your computer, fire up the CPS software and program in whichever frequencies you want to use. You can either, as I say, use it as a walkie-talkie, a PMR 446 walkie-talkie, or as a 16-channel UHF 70 centimeter ham band radio. But I'm using it as a PMR 446 because the radio does comply. When you set it to its low power setting, it complies with the half a watt power output on its low power setting. So that's it's the first radio I've seen that actually does that, that is actually legal as far as complying with power output for PMR 446. So that's why, you know, as Fred in the Shed calls it a dark side radio. This one is the least dark of any dark side radio, because other than the removable antenna, when you set it to its low power setting, the radio actually is completely compliant with PMR 446 on the radio. So it's the best dark side PMR 446 radio that you can purchase. The Retevis, whichever you want to call it, RB626H, wonderful little ham radio stroke business radio stroke walkie-talkie. So it is what you want it to be. Personally, I have it set up as a PMR 446. So thanks for watching the video, folks. Hope you enjoyed it. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. And if you like the channel, feel free to subscribe to the channel. It's free, of course, if you feel like you want to do that. But again, thanks for watching the video. We're getting very close to Christmas here on the 12th of December, so I'll just take this opportunity to wish all my subscribers and everybody watching the channel a very Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to you all. I'll see you all in the new year, hopefully with some more radio videos to pique your interest. But for now, thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.